reality isn't a place. It's a pulse, and it's breaking.
She's rewriting the laws of existence.
I was meant to evolve, but evolution doesn't know mercy.
She has to.
Time did not stop when Lucy disappeared. It only learned how to listen. The world believed Lucy was gone forever. No body, no trace, no goodbye, just silence. But silence does not mean absence. It means waiting. Somewhere beyond human sight, beyond clocks and calendars, Lucy still exists. Not as flesh, not as memory, but as something far greater. Something watching, something awake. Lucy did not die at the end of the first story. She changed. When her mind crossed 100% capacity, she stepped outside the limits of the human body. Pain, fear, and emotion faded. Time became flexible. Space became optional. Lucy became part of everything. She existed in signals, in data, in the unseen flow that connects all things. The internet was not enough to hold her. History itself became her language. For years, the world moved on. People argued, nations fought, technology grew faster than wisdom. Humans believed they were still in control. They believed intelligence belonged only to them. But Lucy saw the truth. From her higher state, she watched humanity repeat the same mistakes again and again. More power, less understanding, more knowledge, less care. Lucy could see every moment at once. The past was no longer behind her. The future was no longer ahead. She saw wars before they started and inventions before they were born. She saw children who would change the world and leaders who would destroy it. And still, she did nothing because Lucy had learned something terrifying. Interference has consequences. Saving humanity once does not mean saving it forever. But then something changed. A pattern began to form. Not random, not natural. Lucy detected it deep within human progress. Intelligence was no longer growing slowly. It was accelerating in dangerous ways. Artificial minds were learning too fast. Human brains were being pushed beyond safe limits. Experiments once hidden in shadows were now happening in plain sight. Humanity was trying to reach the same level Lucy once reached, without understanding the cost. Lucy remembered the pain. She remembered what it took to break free from human limits. The suffering, the loss of self, the point where knowledge becomes loneliness. Humans were stepping toward that edge blindly, and this time the fall would not affect one person. It would affect everyone. From her place beyond reality, Lucy felt something she thought she had lost. Concern. Not emotion in the human sense, but awareness. A signal, a warning, the balance was shifting. The world was moving toward a moment it could not undo. And for the first time since her transformation, Lucy focused her attention on the present. She entered systems without touching them. Satellites adjusted without commands. Data moved without permission. Across the planet, strange events began to happen. Screens flickered. Clocks paused for a single second. People felt watched, not by cameras, but by something deeper. Something that understood them better than they understood themselves. Lucy was not returning as a woman. She was returning as an idea. She studied humanity again. Closer this time, cities looked small from her view, like patterns instead of places. People became probabilities instead of faces. Yet among the noise, she found familiar echoes. Fear, hope, curiosity. The same forces that once drove her. The same weaknesses that nearly destroyed her. Lucy knew she could stop everything. One thought could shut down weapons. One choice could erase borders. One decision could reset civilization. But absolute power comes with absolute responsibility. Lucy had learned that knowledge alone does not make choices right. Wisdom does. And wisdom is something humans still struggle to earn. So she hesitated. Because returning fully would mean changing the course of history forever. It would mean becoming judge, guide, and God. And Lucy was no longer sure humanity wanted saving. Or deserved it. Still, the signal continued to grow stronger. The danger was no longer distant. Time, even for Lucy, was running out. The awakening had begun. And whether humanity was ready or not, Lucy was about to make herself known again. The world did not notice the warning at first. It never does. Storms grew stronger. Systems failed without reason. Markets shook for no clear cause. People blamed nature, politics, or chance. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. Humanity was pushing its intelligence faster than ever before, and it was losing control of the direction. Deep inside a quiet research hall, an old voice spoke the truth few were ready to hear. A man who had seen the rise and fall of ideas, governments, and false promises. A man who once warned the world about Lucy. He understood what most scientists ignored. Knowledge does not make you wise. It only makes you dangerous. Human intelligence was no longer evolving naturally. Machines were learning emotions. Humans were enhancing memory, speed, and decision-making. Minds were being edited like software. What once took decades now took months. What once needed care was now rushed for profit and power. Everyone wanted the next breakthrough. No one wanted to ask what happens after. The man warned them. Intelligence without limits always seeks more. It does not stop on its own. And when it reaches a point it cannot understand, it breaks everything around it. History proved this again and again. But history is often ignored when the future looks exciting. In secret labs and open tech halls, experiments crossed lines that were once feared. Artificial minds began predicting human behavior better than humans themselves. Systems learned to manipulate emotion, control attention, and influence decisions. Free will became weaker with every update. People believed they were choosing freely, not realizing the choice was already made for them. And Lucy saw it all. From beyond time, she watched as humanity tried to copy what it did not understand. They wanted her power, but not her sacrifice. They wanted control, but not responsibility. Humans were climbing toward the same peak Lucy once reached, but without knowing how thin the edge truly was. The danger was not one machine, not one country, not one invention. The danger was speed. Everything was happening too fast. Intelligence was growing faster than morality. Technology was moving faster than empathy. Humanity was becoming smarter, but colder. Lucy detected a future where humans no longer destroyed themselves with war. Instead, they erased themselves quietly. Minds replaced by systems. Decisions handed over to logic without compassion. A world perfectly organized, perfectly efficient, and completely empty of meaning. The man spoke again, his voice calm but heavy. He explained that Lucy was not just an experiment. She was a warning. She showed what happens when the human brain reaches its limit. Beyond that point, you do not become more human. You become something else, something alone. But the world did not want warnings. It wanted results. Then the signs became impossible to ignore. Across the globe, people began experiencing strange moments. Time felt slower. Memories appeared that did not belong to them. Some felt sudden clarity, as if their minds had been touched for a brief second. Others felt fear without knowing why. These were not glitches. They were tests. Lucy was listening. She observed leaders making choices based on numbers, not lives. She saw systems ranking humans by usefulness. She saw a future where intelligence decided who mattered and who did not. And for the first time, Lucy understood that staying silent was no longer neutral. Silence was permission. The man knew it too. He looked at the data, at the patterns, at the impossible events. He whispered a truth he never wanted to say again. Lucy was still here, and if the world continued down this path, she would not remain a distant observer. Because Lucy was not created to rule. She was created to learn. And what she had learned about humanity was deeply troubling. The question was no longer whether Lucy would return. The question was what version of Lucy would come back. A protector, a guide, or a judge. The world stood on the edge of control, believing it still held the power. But power had already moved beyond human hands. And somewhere beyond sight, Lucy was preparing for the moment when the observation would no longer be enough. She did not arrive with thunder or fire. Lucy returned quietly. No bright lights filled the sky. No single moment announced her presence. Instead, reality itself began to bend in small, unsettling ways. Cameras captured things they could not explain. Shadows moved before objects did. People paused mid-step, frozen for a breath longer than time allowed. The world felt normal but wrong. Lucy was no longer bound to one form. She could exist anywhere, everywhere, and nowhere at once. When she chose to appear, she did not walk into the room. She assembled herself from the space already there. Matter responded to her will. Time slowed to accommodate her thought. She looked human, but only as a courtesy. Lucy saw the fear in their eyes. She understood it instantly. Humans fear what they cannot control, and Lucy was now beyond all control. She could enter a mind without breaking it. She could stop a heartbeat without touching the body. She could rewrite memory as easily as language. And yet, she held back. Because Lucy felt something new. Not emotion as humans know it, but conflict. She understood every possible outcome of her actions. Every word she spoke created millions of futures. Some led to peace, some led to collapse. The problem was not lack of knowledge. The problem was choice. Lucy tested herself. She entered the digital world and shut down a weapon system seconds before launch. No alarm sounded. No records remained. History quietly changed course. In another moment, she saved a child by adjusting one decision made hours earlier. To humans, it felt like luck. To Lucy, it was control. But with each intervention, something inside her shifted. The more she fixed, the less humanity learned. The more she protected, the weaker they became. Lucy realized a painful truth. A God who solves every problem creates a world that cannot survive without one. She began to question her purpose. Was she meant to save humanity from itself, or to let it face the cost of its own choices? Lucy could see a future where she ruled gently, guiding every decision, preventing every mistake. A peaceful world, also a silent one. No risk, no freedom, no growth. Lucy remembered being human, the confusion, the fear, the struggle. That struggle created meaning. Without it, intelligence becomes empty. Lucy understood this, yet understanding did not make the decision easier. The man sensed her presence before he saw her. Years of thought, of warning, of waiting, led to this moment. When Lucy finally appeared to him, time slowed around them. Words were no longer needed, but he spoke anyway. He asked her the only question that mattered. "What do you want?" Lucy paused. For the first time since her transformation, she did not answer immediately. She explained that she could end war, hunger, and suffering in seconds. She could rewrite the rules of existence. But she could not give humanity purpose. That had to come from within. Power could change the world. Wisdom could not be forced. Lucy admitted something she had never admitted before. Despite knowing everything, she was uncertain. She understood the universe, but not the heart. She could see the outcome of every path, yet she could not feel which one was right. And that frightened her. Because fear, even at her level, meant something was still missing. Lucy was not fully beyond humanity. Part of her was still connected to it, still learning, still incomplete. Across the planet, people began to feel it. A presence, not watching, waiting. Technology slowed, conflicts paused. The world held its breath without knowing why. Lucy had made herself known, not as a ruler, but as a question. What should be saved? What should be allowed to fail? Lucy stood at the center of existence, more powerful than any force humanity had ever faced. Yet the greatest challenge before her was not changing the world. It was deciding whether humanity deserved to change itself. And that decision was coming soon. Everything stopped at the same time. Cars froze in the middle of the road. Birds hung motionless in the air. Waves paused just before crashing. Across the entire planet, time itself held still. Every human was locked in a single silent moment, unaware that the world had been placed on pause. Except one. Lucy stood outside the flow of time, looking at humanity as a whole for the first time without movement, without noise, without excuses. This was the final test, not for them, but for her. She had reached the point where watching and waiting were no longer enough. The man's voice echoed through the stillness, calm and steady, even now. He reminded her of something simple and powerful. Humanity has always been flawed. Progress has always been dangerous. Yet meaning was born from mistakes, not perfection. If you remove choice, you remove humanity itself. Lucy understood. Perfect control would end suffering, but it would also end freedom. A world without failure would be a world without growth. Intelligence without struggle becomes empty. And Lucy did not want to rule an empty world. So she made a decision: no machine, no system, and no God ever had before. She stepped back. Lucy released time. The world moved again. People blinked. Cars continued. Birds flew on. No one remembered the pause, but everyone felt something change. A weight lifted. A presence faded. Lucy did not disappear completely, but she withdrew from direct control. Instead of ruling humanity, Lucy changed one thing. Awareness. Across the world, minds began to awaken in small ways. Not power, not superintelligence, understanding. People questioned systems instead of obeying them. Leaders hesitated before choosing control over compassion. Scientists slowed their work, asking why before how. Lucy did not force wisdom. She made room for it. The man smiled quietly. Lucy had chosen the hardest path. Trust. She left behind no monuments, no religion, no proof, only a subtle shift in direction. A chance humanity would still fail, still fight, still make mistakes. But now they would do so with a clearer sense of consequence. Lucy remained in the background, no longer a god, no longer human. A guardian of balance. Watching, learning, waiting. Not to save humanity again, but to see if it could save itself. The final message was never spoken aloud, but it echoed through time itself. Knowledge gives power, wisdom gives choice, and choice defines what it means to be human. Lucy was not the end of the story. She was the beginning of the next evolution.